kahkio no gumaganak. Ninanaskamun anutse migo ya matson kawyat gugisi ko nitika son nehionia nitskapo nehoche. Translated, my ceremonial name is Fine Day, otherwise known as Elder Whiskeyjack. I got this name and I honor it as one of the rites of passage when I was doing Vision Quest. And I received this name, the name of one of our historical leaders that was involved in as a chief and guiding his people in a good way. So this morning, I'm a Cree. Well, I said Nehionia, Cree, people of the Four Directions. Nitskwapo Nehoche from Saddle Lake, which is about an hour and a half northeast of Edmonton. So I'm sitting at home right now, and what I'm going to begin with is to start you off with a virtual smudge. As you can see, I'm lighting this match. I have this medicine ball of sage that I'm going to light up. Whoops. Well, what we do is a symbolic cleansing, just as we cleanse ourselves with water every day. And this way of blessing is no different from how the Catholic Church uses the myrrh and incense to bless the church during ceremony, the Mass. So as you can see the smoke rising here, bear with me as I bless myself, give thanks for life. And I ask you now at this time to join me in spirit. We all have that spirit. And we are a people from the Four Directions. And we acknowledge the sacred gift of life that the Creator gives to each and every one of us. We ask the Creator in a very special way to bless and give thanks for this life, the gratefulness of how we are so free in this country when so many are suffering in Ukraine. If I think about them and so many that have lost their lives. Also in our walk in this life, that sickness that is affecting many of our people in the way of COVID-19, the Delta variant, that those that have gone to the spirit world, including our grandfathers, our grandmothers, that they will be joining us with their spirit from the spirit world. This is the way we always give thanks for our own lives, and that we are in a free country, and that we forget many, many times when we wake up to acknowledge this life that you have given us. Creator, I ask those spirit guides that we know as the grandfathers and the grandmothers, the angels and saints, to bless us as we sit here and be able to share this knowledge and all the special gifts that we possess and take for granted, and including all the elements and the teachings of in this blessing, as you have given us the gift, they say that song moves the spirit in a good way. The drum has been the heartbeat of our nation many, many years past. And so today I begin in saying, our Creator will enter and be with us here today, that wherever we are in our lodges, in our homes, that we share this warmth with one another, that we share this connection and relationship as caregivers and teachers, as leaders. So with the song, it says, Creator, we give you thanks. You will be with us in spirit, in our own homes, wherever we are, as we acknowledge this gift of knowledge that you have given us by giving us this mentality that is truly a gift of the Creator, that new learnings in life are from the Creator. And because we have this brain, this memory, it becomes ceremony. For this, we acknowledge this gift and how we're going to share this knowledge today. I can ask one. Oh, we know that it's a well, oh, With that, good morning, everyone. I'm just going to say a few words. In this way of learning, I want to say, first of all, that my life journey as one coming from residential school survival, as remembering many traumas that still happen in our lives with the finding of new graves, the recently and from Gohart. But those experiences from my own self in truth and reconciliation comes from a life experience. Not that I blame anyone, but that in bringing this awareness, that to understand the history and the sources of our nation as First Peoples, that we cannot put it under the rug and forget about it, because it still affects our people today. So myself, as First Nations from Treaty 6, I welcome you all in acknowledging my territory and what we share here today. Our people have had their own traditional values and their own culture, and their own psychology, and how we raise children and how we taught, mostly from oral teachings that were passed on from our elders, so that the mentorship and advocacy of elders is so important and key to understanding our communities. Because before colonialism, we were connected and we had a relationship to the Creator. We had a relationship to the universe, to spiritual law. We had a relationship to the natural law, nature as we know it, to everything that is alive, the animals, the bird kingdom, the water beings, the reptiles, anything, the medicines. We had a relationship with each other as human beings. And, everything that grows upon this life that Mother Earth provides in the way of medicines. And as we give that tobacco as a protocol, the first medicine, it was so key to understanding one another in ceremony. And that is what has enabled me to obtain this balance in life, where I acknowledge my spirit every day, where I acknowledge my physical to be living a life of sobriety, to be drug-free, and to smoke and carry that pipe in a very sacred manner that I have been given with in the rites of passage and ceremony, and to acknowledge this emotion in the times that I'm happy in celebration, and in the times that I shed tears and listen to the promise of our young people today. So I know my identity. When I was told many years back that I was illiterate and that I would not have the ability to learn, it was not true. And it took elders to counsel me and build that self-esteem and motivation that I needed to survive in life. My mentor, Elder Joe Cardinal, once said, in this life, the greatest gift that we were given is the gift of love and kindness and forgiveness. And the other thing is the self-discipline, to challenge ourselves and to share our gifts, our natural born gifts to your greatest potential. So with this, we have teachings of respect to the opposite sex, male and female, the moral values that we were brought up with. My mom used to say, you young ladies and you young men, don't wrestle with each other, with your siblings. Respect them as man, woman, and give that respect in each other, because your sisters are life givers. Your grandmother is a life giver. Your mother is a life giver. And so I have learned these and practiced them in my own mentorship and advocacy for children in the educational program. The other thing is to make our workplaces like a second home, with the way we greet one another, and the provision of food, and creating a friendly atmosphere and making it fun for those that you care for. And so with this also is those things that we use in bringing our kids to the natural environment. When you bring kids to the natural environments and teach from the spirit of the land, they will listen and they will have fun and they will be more relaxed. This is what I have found out. In excursions to visiting schools, the organizations, the recreational programs, and the events that you involve them in. It's the knowledge of knowing community and what those communities, to have the connection to the resources, who, elders, counselors, teachers, social workers, to know the personal histories of where they come from, the lifestyles, the cultural practices, and to participate in these practices, getting to know and gaining knowledge from what you experience. And again, another important thing is to maintain the dignity. For myself, I needed this dignity when I was growing up, to be non-judgmental. A lot of our people are in the institutions today because of the addictions, and knowing where those sources came from, who brought the alcohol, who brought the drugs. And again, not blaming, but it was a matter of choices. Yet those were sometimes used in a way to forget the traumatic history that we suffered. I was involved in the missing and murdered Aboriginal woman consultation in those agencies, involved in the 60s scoop and the loss of identity. I've been trying to work with motivation, self-worth, self-esteem, and encouraging students at the university level, day and age. And so those things are so important, and to erase the obstacles of racism and to maintain dignity, and most of all, to be really committed to a vision, a quest that I have been trying to for as long as I live. So with this, thank you for listening to me. I hope this will give some insight on your meeting today and what values and gifts that you have to share as human beings for humanitarian cause. Hi, Nanaskobe.
Hi, and thank you, Elder Whiskeyjack, for helping us open in such a strong way, thinking about the land that the University of Alberta is located on and sits on here in Amiskwaciy-Waskahikan, Beaver Hills House, its true name, now known as Edmonton and Treaty 6 territory specifically. We're so honored, and I'm personally so humbled to have you opening with us today, Elder Whiskeyjack. Getting to know you over the past couple days leading up to the Open Symposium has been wonderful, and I look forward to many more engagements and conversations, and yes, to lunches at First People's House when we are safely back on campus as well. So thank you, and hi for opening us so well today. Good morning, everyone. Morning where I'm sitting currently in Amiskwaciy-Waskahikan. My name is Tommy Mayberry, and I'm the Executive Director of the Center for Teaching and Learning here at the U of A. My pronouns are he, she, and they, so you can use any of those three series to refer to me with respect. And before we move into a little bit of our formalities and the acknowledgements, then get right into our networking session, I do want us to deeply think about what Elder Whiskeyjack was saying around those connections that we can bring, not just to education, but to our specific missions and projects here with this week, with Open Education Week, and then us, exploring and moving through open education technologies, resources, pedagogies, all these ways to be opening up the academy, opening up teaching and learning, taking them outside of those boundaries, reimagining ways that we can do teaching and learning to make it more available, more accessible, more transparent as well for it, because that hasn't been the way in these colonial institutions known as universities and colleges and higher education. That hasn't been the way that we've been doing things. And yet, as we heard what Elder Whiskeyjack was saying, it's been always so open on the land, taking our students, taking our young people, taking people of all ages out onto the land to engage with the Creator and those different ways that we can think through our teachings and our stories as well. And so as I was listening to Elder Whiskeyjack, and I was thinking about my early forays into open education and these ways that we can break the system and break boundaries and do stuff where we're building communities and we're building collectives and we're sharing these resources and we're wanting them to be reused and taken out there and just really kind of breaking open what education can be. It was really hitting home for me as Elder Whiskeyjack was talking about almost, and now I'm paraphrasing as a white settler scholar, but almost thinking about what privileges we didn't have by engaging with Indigenous knowledge keepers and communities before, and how hard this work has been in open education to get take up from our instructors. Our students are loving it, right? Our students are so excited around these ways that we can decolonize and open up our classrooms and our learning scapes. And if only we had been more open to these decolonial, these anti-racist, these Indigenous ways of doing teaching and learning, we might be more ahead than we are. And so I'm so excited for us to keep these notes from you, Elder Whiskeyjack, with us as we go through thinking about how wide open teaching and learning always has been and can and should be as we spend this week together across our communities, across our collectives, thinking about how we can keep these partnerships going, keep these practices going as well. And on that note of collective, I would be incredibly remiss to sit here as the executive director of our Center for Teaching and Learning and not acknowledge I do want to say countless hours. I have not tried to count them, but I think if I did, I would probably get overwhelmed and stop counting the hours that went into bringing this event into existence and getting it running. There was a wonderful group of folks, you can see it on the website as well, the steering committee and other folks as well, who have dedicated so much of themselves and so much time and energy to it. So to the steering committee and to those folks, I do want to give a huge shout out and expression of gratitude for bringing this event for Open Education Week to and through across these 5 days. One specific mention that I do want to give out is around the Open Pedagogy Lightning Talks. So those are events that you're going to engage in across each of the 5 days of our Open Education Symposium. And these specifically are the result of a year-long and multi-institutional partnership or collective with the University of Alberta, the University of Calgary, and Thompson River University. So the Open Education Symposium Steering Committee these folks from these three institutions have put so much of themselves, their hearts, love, care, compassion, time, and energy into bringing these noon-hour talks to us. And we're so excited to have them come into Fabulous Life with us this week. I would like to individually thank and honor each of these folks, without whom we would not have this programming today, tomorrow, and across this whole week. So from Thompson River University, Verena Roberts, Instructional Designer in Open Learning, Carolyn Ives, Coordinator of Learning and Faculty Development, and Brenda Smith, Open Education Librarian. From the University of Calgary, Elisa Wright, Education Development Consultant at the Taylor Institute for Teaching and Learning, Christy Hurrell, Director of Lab Next in Libraries and Cultural Resources, and Barbara Brown, Associate Dean of Teaching and Learning at the Workland School of Education. And from the University of Alberta, Sarah Shaughnessy, one of our fabulous librarians. And so thank you folks specifically so much for that year-long partnership and getting these Open Pedagogy Lightning Talks coming to us as well. And for all of as you know, in the Zoom world and all of these ways, so much actual behind the scenes work goes into making these things happen. And so without each and every individual person who put so much of themselves into it, we wouldn't be gathering today across space and time as we are gathering. And I want to take a moment to think about all of those people, named and unnamed, and with us today, and who will be with us throughout the week, and not with us as well as we open and engage in our Open Education Symposium.